Hello. I think I'm live. I'm never quite sure. Please give a shout out or a wave if you can see me. I would love to connect and hear. I've got sticky up here on the back of my new sort of earphone thing. This is designed to make sure that I can hear a little bit better. It's not so fantastic though for managing hair. Um, so today I'm going to talk about overcoming self-doubt, and I love the little cartoon that someone who's also a member on here shared, and so she shared it on Facebook, and I went, oh my God, I so resonate with that. Some of you might know that I'm currently on a course with the Canberra Innovation Network. It's called Idea to Impact. And as part of that, I get to talk about the Joyful Business Club every fortnight with a group of other people and learn a whole lot of stuff. And I also have to go and interview a number of people, and the aim is to get to 100, of which I'm not quite there yet. I think I'm close to 40, but I'm still going. Now, what's really interesting is two things. One is the amount of people who talk about self-doubt being one of the fundamental issues that women in startups are overcoming. And that has been a consistent theme. Now, I thought when I was having these interviews, I would be talking about technical stuff, about, website build or SEO or digital platforms or getting investors on board. But no, it's all about the mindset. It's all about the space. This is what is stopping so many women with amazing ideas being out there doing things. It's all to do with the self-doubt and limiting belief. And then the second thing is that it triggered in myself a whole series of self-doubt. Now, I often come across, I hope, as being fairly positive and focused. I try to be. I don't come on here and necessarily talk about my inner demons and how I'm dealing with those, but it is a very real thing for me. I'm coming up to year's anniversary now since I left my job. My last day at work was Halloween. Now, I had all these really huge goals that I set for myself, such as earning as much as I did after I left work. And of course, we've had bushfires and COVID, and I haven't quite achieved that. Very proud of what I have achieved, mind, but it does set off that self-doubt. And hubby keeps having to say to me, look, you're in a good financial position. You saved to do this. What you do matters. You're doing amazing things. Be a bit kinder to yourself. So that's probably, tip number one. I was going to talk about 10 things, but now that I think of it, that's tip number one, is having a bit of self-compassion. As women, we can often be really, really hard on ourselves. I don't know why we are, we just tend to be. And so having a little bit of self-compassion can be so important. Just some days we'll have good days and some days we'll have bad days with our business or our lives or other things. The night before last, I had, my 8-year-old had a meltdown at OzTag. He didn't like OzTag, and it was a bit of confusion about where it was, and we ended up being there a bit late, and then he had a meltdown, and then the other son had a meltdown, and no one slept well. It was all nuts, So it's just have a bit of self-compassion sometimes when things don't go right, because otherwise it's that kind of spiraling effect. You'll have days where you'll lose clients, or someone doesn't like what you do, or you're trying to promote a course that doesn't sell. And these things will happen. So just, self-compassion, number one. Number two is that self-doubt is normal, at least normal for people who don't have psychological disorders. I know that sounds bizarre, but if you have ever known someone who has narcissistic personality disorder, or have thought they might be on that spectrum, you know what I'm talking about, right? So a narcissist doesn't appear to have self-doubt. Well, actually, they are actually deeply insecure, but they hide that. Like, everything is about them, whether they're outwardly extroverted or covert with it. It's all about how brilliant they are and how fantastic they are. They don't have any, they don't project any self-doubt. But for people who don't have those kind of psychological disorders, self-doubt is a normal part of the process. And that's for a number of reasons. Like, I think it's because we're often people who are highly self-aware. We're often looking at ourselves and thinking, well, how was I in that interaction? Did I talk too much? Did I talk too little? How did I come across there? Could I have done a better job? Could I have done this? You're constantly self-reflecting on yourself, because that's what self-aware people do, right? They're almost looking at themselves in the mirror constantly. So when you are feeling this self-doubt, this is often a reflection of the fact that you are looking inwardly in that reflective personal development mode to look to see how you can improve on yourself. And so it's quite normal to have those kind of doubts. It's not. It doesn't mean that you should stop there and believe it. It's just a normal thing. And also, too, I think it's a bit of a thing that people who are innovators often face because you're doing something out of the box, right? So it's a bit like your body saying, "Warning, warning, danger, danger." Uh, don't go there. Hi, lovely Mark. So glad that you are here. We really need to catch up. I'm looking forward to speaking with you at some point soon. So I think your body's sort of going, danger, danger, Will Robinson, come back to where's nice and safe. Don't go out there on a limb, chasing the bear or the tiger or doing something risky. Come back into the cave where it's nice and safe and normal. And so I think people who are not sort of challenging themselves personally, going outside of their comfort zone, are always going to feel that sense of who aren't going outside their comfort zone aren't going to feel this. Like my lovely husband, who I love dearly, has been virtually with the same organisation doing the same sort of thing for about 31 years in his career. He's very comfortable what he does. He's very well regarded in what he does. He's not challenging himself that much on a regular basis in terms of doing something radically new. Like, he's not sort of learning a new language or, doing a PhD. It's not to say that he's bad, right? Like he's really good at what he does. He's very comfortable at what he does. But consequently, he doesn't feel self-doubt. Like, why should he? Because he knows exactly what he's doing. But if you're doing something new, where you don't really know what you're doing. There's a lot of uncharted things that are happening. Of course, you're going to feel self-doubt. Like this is just a normal thing. It's your body saying, ooh, this is a bit abnormal. So what are some cures for this? Well, I'd say, one is to surround yourself by like-minded people. And so like-minded people can be more difficult to find than you might think. I've established this group to really be a supportive way that we can help each other through the good times and the bad, to celebrate the good and also to be there to support during, those times of self-doubt and other things. Sometimes your most well-meaning people in your life, they will just, put water on the flames of your new idea because they love you. They don't want to see you get hurt. They worry that something might fail, or they just don't get it. And so they sort of say things indirectly that, aren't necessarily going to make it better. So, you really need to be with people who sort of get that kind of entrepreneurial kind of dream, who understand that. And they will help pick you up and they will help rise you up and they will help show you what's possible. Like even this morning, while I should have been preparing for this and a podcast, both of which I've done, by the way, but, often good ideas I find come at the most random ideas. I had a sudden, really clear idea that was aligned with my values and goals. It was something I wanted to do. So I immediately stopped everything and registered a domain name with that name because it was just clear to me. And then I was like, oh, now I've got to tell hubby about this and I know what he's going to say. But I reached out to a couple of people who are like-minded with this and I know they're going to encourage me to do it and I know I'm going to do it. I don't know how. And so surround yourself by like-minded people who are going to lift you up. Number 3 is to take action. So Napoleon Hill famously says, don't wait for a plan. Now, Napoleon Hill's an interesting one. As you know, I'm doing a book reading club on of his work. Last night I was reading something about what a con man he is, and that's a really interesting thing for another discussion, and I might talk about it in my next time I do a book reading club of his. But probably a really good example of this is an article I've been reading recently about the first air-made flight, so the Wright Brothers. So we all know about the Wright Brothers, right? It's 2 brothers who were bicycle mechanics, repair people, who did the first flight. What a lot of us don't know is that there was quite a race to be the first people to fly. And there were a number of other people doing this, but there was one who was very credible. And of course, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but I will share it in the link. His surname from memory was Stanley. He was Ivy League educated. He was an astronomer. Of his day, he was one of the foremost scientists in the US. He was head of the Smithsonian. He had government funding. He had a whole team of engineers. And they had locked themselves away to do a whole lot of thinking about the aerodynamics, about what might be possible with flight. They had some theories about how, stability was going to be really important. And so they were modeling it along like a houseboat type thing. So it was, going to be really, stable. what they didn't do, which is what the Wright brothers were doing, is they didn't try it. They were bunkered away thinking about stuff, and then they had one test flight and it just bombed, just went straight in the river. It didn't work. And then after that, they kind of were a bit embarrassed and they sort of gave up. And in the meantime, not that long afterwards, the Wright brothers clocked it in at, I think it was like 56 seconds or something like that. Because what they'd been doing is they'd been getting out on the field and they'd been doing this. They'd been trialing it. They'd been taking action and they'd been sitting in the pilot seat. And as they did that, they noticed that the pilot actually has quite a lot of discretion. And it was usually he, I don't think there were many early, well, actually he or she, although they were all men, could really balance the controls. And so they designed something that was primarily around the pilot, and that's how they dealt with the stability issue. But the key issue is it's about taking action. You're going to fail a lot more times than you're going to succeed. I mean, the Wright brothers are a good example of that. They had a few crashes before they took off. But, just to keep at that and to take action and to modify as you do that. And related to that, my next tip is just to do the next thing. So sometimes when I get really freaked out and, like particularly if I've been speaking to someone who's a direct competitor or reading about people who are direct competitors who are doing amazing stuff that are so far ahead of me, is I just go, yeah, that's great. Today I have to reconcile my bills or pay some bills. So I'm not going to think about that. What's the next thing on my list that I have to do? Well, I've got an article due that, by Friday that I have to write. So I'm just going to sit down. I'm just going to write that. I won't worry about that stuff. That's just too emotionally difficult for me to deal with right now. I'm not going to pack it all in and go, oh, I'm hopeless. I'm just going to go, where's my to-do list? And what's the next thing for me to do? And I'm just going to plow on through that emotionally, if that makes sense. So I break it down to the practical things I need to do and the practical, really essential things to do. And I just kind of tick those along and do that. Another thing I like to do, which was going to be point 5, but I put one ahead, so it's now point 6, is to keep a brag book. So, those who have grandkids or have friends who've got grandkids know about the brag book. It's that have a look at all my wonderful grandkids and how cute they are. Well, that's not a bad idea to do for your own business and your own self-confidence. I used to have one in my work. Every time I got a lovely email back from someone saying, thank you so much, I really appreciated the effort you put in, what you wrote was great, whatever it was, you got a fantastic outcome. I kept a spreadsheet and I just copy and paste that in. And if I was having a really bad down day where I was doubting myself and my abilities, I'd look at that list, and it's really quite amazing to go back, because when you're in that low point of self-doubt, you don't see that. And so for some people, it could be, the positive feedback they've had on a product or service, a trip. I know Marg's a tour leader. Maybe you've had some clients who've had an amazing trip with you, that they've written something on TripAdvisor. Look at those positive things, and then you see, oh, actually, I'm not that bad after all. Look, so I've really oh yeah, I did do a good job there. That's right. I remember I went above and beyond, and they were lovely people and they really appreciated it. So to keep those sorts of things. I love reading, the testimonials that people send me that really just helps to lift my spirits. And also too, because I have so much self-doubt with my podcast, right? Because everyone says, oh, there's so many podcasts out there. Every second person's got a podcast. And there's ones in similar genres who have more stats than me and more this and more that and whatever. But then I get, podcast guests who come back and just tell me, how amazing it was for them, how it's really helped their business, and also how much they enjoyed the experience. And those things, I keep those, and that keeps me going. I sort of go, well, it is sort of making a difference. So I've got to have faith that this is important. So the next one is meditation and visualization. So, sometimes we set these goals, and this is very much law of attraction. You set a goal and you just have to have faith that it's going to happen. In the law of attraction, in The Secret, they often talk about, say you're driving at night from one place to another. So say you're out in a car at night, you've left Canberra, for instance, you're driving to Melbourne and it's at night and you've decided to take the back roads for whatever reason. I don't know why you do that, but for whatever reason you have. So all you've got is your headlight, right? So you've got your goal. You don't really know how you're going to get there, but all you have to worry about is your headlight and the next bit that you can see. And it's a bit like going up a big staircase too. All you're going to do, you're going to get to the top, but you don't need to see the top. You just need to focus on one step at a time. So, in a law of attraction way, is you just have to have that goal and you have to just believe in that goal. And so set yourself a really clear, slightly ambitious goal and just have faith you're going to achieve that. So for me, as many of you know, it's 100,000 podcast downloads by Christmas. I have no idea how I'm going to get that. Like I keep producing podcasts regularly. I've got some amazing guests, which I'm just so proud to have. In fact, I've got one coming at 2:00 today. A lady who's a naval officer who's won a Conspicuous Service Medal for her work on gender, 38 years as a naval officer. Amazing lady, right? So, I have faith that I'm doing all these right things, continuing to promote it. Currently at about 18,200, so close to the 20,000 mark. I don't know how I'm going to get to 100,000 downloads, but I do know that I'm already on that journey. I'm not just sitting and theorizing. I'm taking action, and I've put it out to the universe that that's what I'm going to do, and I just have faith in that. The next one, which is number 8, is, read about positive things. Like, because, if you're listening to the news, particularly during COVID and this year of recession, it's all full of, fairly doom and gloom stuff. And I'm not saying don't watch the news, because if it's important for you to be informed, by all means, watch the news. I don't want to encourage people necessarily to live in a cocoon, but, just really make sure you surround yourself by reading positive things, positive articles, biographies or autobiographies of people who've done amazing things, particularly amazing things in genres you can relate to. That's something that's pretty fab. One book I like is The Magic of Thinking Big, which is a little bit dated now. I think it's like a 70s or an 80s kind of book. But, it really does challenge you to think, yeah, actually, it's okay to think big and it's okay to do big things. So all that kind of positive stuff is really important. And like knowing it, but doing it is a different thing. Like, I know all about abundance mindset. I know all about overcoming self-doubt. But does that mean I don't have scarcity mindset thoughts? Does that mean I don't have self-doubt? Hell no. It's my almost constant. Like hubby's saying, where's all this scarcity mindset coming from? Why are you worried about money all the time? Because I've had so much conditioning to be worried about this, so much conditioning to be worried about self-doubt, because I'm often doing things that are new and they're just that little bit out of my comfort zone. And other people can't see that vision yet too. So other people think I'm a bit wacky as well. So I constantly need to be reading, absorbing, surrounded by positive things in order to, reset and my thinking to positive. Another one, and this is a little bit controversial perhaps, but this comes from some advice that I often give to younger women who I've mentored informally from time to time. Like often, my last career in the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, younger women would often sort of say, oh, I don't know whether I should apply for this or not. I feel a bit bad because I've already applied for something else, or I really want to go overseas on this course, but I worry what my boss would think, or, and I say, stop, and I say to them, what would you do if you're a man? And then they stop for a moment and they go, yeah, I'd go for it. And I'm like, there's your answer. So if you're holding yourself out back because you're worried you're not good enough, oh, I really don't want to offend someone by, making this hard decision or making this call, or I don't think I'm good enough. Well, ask yourself, if you're a man, would you be doing this? And if the answer is hell yeah, well, there's your answer. Why are you self-limiting your belief? Because often, as women, we are really socialized, to be so obliging and nice and not to rock the boat, to look after everyone else first. And I had a mum who was a successful, career woman, fashion designer. But even so, I've still sort of picked up some of these belief systems about needing to be, compliant. And not necessarily putting myself first. So just, in the back of your mind, sometimes if it's a limiting belief, think to yourself, what would I do if I was a man? And if you find other female friends who are holding themselves back too with worry about this sort of stuff, just subtly ask them, if you're a man, would you do this differently? If so, why not? And, it doesn't make them wrong. They might choose to do things differently because, they place a value on other things such as, family and family dynamics. As part of a team, with their husband, he might have a particularly high profile job and or busy job or other things or lots of travel, and it just might not work. But it's important just to ask that question to see if you get a different answer. Number 10. So this is something that comes from the magic of thinking big, and it's something I've used to do, and I haven't done it for a while, and that's to make an advertisement of yourself. So often, about 70% of people are visual, and I think about 20% of people like auditory stuff. And then there's about another 10% like me who are a bit unusual and are a bit kinetic. We sort of have to feel things in a different way. But, usually a combination of all three is really important. It's not just solely one. So one thing you can do is you can make an ad of yourself and you can record it on your phone. If you're really fancy and into podcasting or into other things, you could add a little bit of music. You could even do a little YouTube clip. And the idea is that when you are in a positive frame of mind, you do an ad about yourself. So imagining if you were paying an ad company to put an ad about yourself on the television or on the radio, what would they say? So usually, as women, we go, oh, I'm not really good. I've only got 18,200, podcast downloads. It's not that good, even though it's bloody fantastic. So let's just, do a fake it till you make it. Hi, I'm Serina. I'm founder of the Joyful Business Club, and I'm amazing because of blah, 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 blah. So really short, 15 to 30 second, nice little soundbite that you record when you're in a positive frame of mind. And then when you're having that self-doubt moment, you can listen to that again to remind yourself, because it's your voice talking about you. And you can also frame it as the person you want to be as well. It's just to remind yourself of that. So that's a little trick too, just to, trick your mind for when you're feeling a bit down. And then the final one, it sort of is an insight that I gained from a book by the Dalai Lama many years ago. So and I no longer have that book, and I can't remember the exact quote, but I remember the basic construct. So it came from a book that he wrote about work and dealing particularly with work stress. And it was something that really used to help me when I was dealing with some particular work stress, because we get so caught up sometimes about, am I good at this? Am I not good at this? I don't know. I made a spelling error in this article. It must mean I'm a bad writer, all this sort of stuff that you can get caught up in. But sometimes it's good to take it out of yourself. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing your business? Why are you doing your career? You're doing it to help other people. And if you think about it like that, it just takes such a weight off your shoulder, because it's no longer about worrying about you being judged or perfect or in the spotlight. You are doing what you do to help other people in some way. And this is particularly important for women in business, because there's usually always a strong why. Some people are just doing it to make money, and that's nothing wrong with that, because making money can often mean that you're supporting your family. But 9 times out of 10, women in business are doing it because their why is really strong. I'm doing this to help, other people with mental health issues, or I'm doing this to help other women in business. I'm doing this to help people love Canberra and to, really reshape their view of Canberra. I'm doing this to help local businesses. I'm doing this to help the environment. I'm doing this to help my local community. Identify what it is that you are doing to help someone else, and believe that you are doing this because it's important and it's making a difference. So it's no longer about you, okay, and judging yourself and worrying about whether you are good enough or not. You are doing this to help other people. So reframe it in those ways. So there are some of my thoughts, and I think I've come in slightly early. We have a few people who are watching, including on replay. If you have any comments, please put them in, and I'm really happy, to talk about this. But, I guess in conclusion, I'd say that, all of us are going to experience self-doubt. This is a normal thing for normal empathic feeling people to experience. You're going to, suffer this or not suffer this. You're going to encounter this on a regular basis. This is not a bad thing. You can't make it wrong. You can't hope it's going to go away. It will come and it'll go. It'll probably come back more when, you're not in good health or you haven't had a bad night's sleep. There's a few things that are swirling around. It's just something that's going to be there. It's your body trying to tell you that you're doing something a little bit different, that you are pushing the boundaries a little bit, and look, that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you're bad or you're going to fail. It's just a thought process that's happening. And so, hopefully these are some steps that are going to help you to overcome that. And thank you, Yvette, for saying thanks, Serena. Thank you, lovely Yvette. I really appreciate you tuning in today. Um, and I'll also say, just in conclusion, that, the more that we can support each other as women in business and those male champions of business here as well, who are also welcome in this group, the more you can do too to help and encourage others. It's really fantastic because the more that we collaborate together, the stronger we are. These things make a huge difference to me. Times that I've had self-doubt, other people have helped me. I've been speaking to a couple of other ladies offline this week who've been suffering from self-doubt, and I understand because I've been there too. The more we can lift each other up, the more we can fly. So thank you all very much. And I so look forward to hearing about the amazing things you're doing. I'm about to go and post a Flaunt It Fry, yay. So I fully expect you to have a little bit of boasting about amazing things you've done, big or small. They don't have to be like, colossal. Sometimes it's just those little things that you've done that are significant to you that are pretty amazing. Thank you.